Welcome to Bold Talk series where creativity, leadership, ideas, innovation come together. My name is Epi Ludvik, and today I have a privilege to have a short one-on-one conversation with Nuno Brito Jorge, founder and CEO of Goparity, where money meets purpose, turning sustainable investing into something anyone can actually do. Nuno, great seeing you. Welcome to our Bold Talk series. How are you?
Thanks a lot, Epi. Thanks for having me and for the invitation. And I'm doing fine, actually. Yeah.
Great to see you. Have I pronounced your last name correctly, man?
You sounded Portuguese.
Okay. Well, I spent some time in Portugal going back and forth. We did our last edition in Lisbon, and it was really fun. I love Portugal. I love Portuguese people. I love the Portuguese food. So looking forward to maybe seeing you there. So, Bruno, thanks for joining me in this short format Bold Talks podcast that we do. Let's start with your personal journey. What initially inspired you to move from environmental engineering and policy into the world of entrepreneurship and finance?
Mm. Yeah, I'm an environmental engineer by training. So the side of sustainability was always there, I guess. But early in my career, I worked a few years outside of Portugal, and I started to be more aware of like ethical banking kind of options and stuff. And then when I moved back to Portugal, there was no ethical bank. It was 2009, so like peak crisis, a lot of banks crashing, people losing their money, and I had to choose a bank where I would put my savings. Not that I had too much, but I wanted to be conscious of where they were. And there was no ethical option. So I think that's the first time that I thought, well, people should be empowered to choose, because wherever your money goes is what decides the kind of projects that come to life. And long story short, started with a small solar power project, couldn't afford it, invited friends to invest with me. First thought of, is there a business model around allowing people to put their money in a project that can actually generate a decent return and do something good for the planet and for society? And that's when I started to research about crowdfunding, also learned about renewable energy cooperatives, and that's when all the journey starts. So I would say I went back to Portugal in 2009 and I became an entrepreneur. So my first company was created in 2012.
Yeah. Well, crowdfunding it's a very impactful financial instrument. And how do you define the core mission of Goparity in making sustainable finances more accessible?
Yeah, so I think we exist to allow people to choose where their money goes. So the main reason we created Goparity is because we believe the financial system as is has driven people to not really being empowered to choose what their money does, and to lack all transparency of where it actually is. So you can't choose it. You also don't know exactly what it is doing. And then on the other side, there are thousands of good sustainable projects, both from the environmental, social, and economical perspective, that lack the adequate financing. And we exist in the combination of these two worlds.
Hmm. Now, many platforms talk about aligning investments with values. How does Goparity ensures that the projects uh, you fund truly deliver meaningful environment and social impact?
Hmm. Yeah, so for every project that we launch on the platform, the first basic criteria is that they need to prove that they will actively contribute in a tangible manner to sustainable development goals. So we started Goparity actually focused on renewable energies. But then in 2020, we decided to broaden the scope to the sustainable development goals. So that's where we start. Then when we look at any project, we call it a triple due diligence. So we do the financials of the company, the business plan of the project that we are funding, because sometimes we are funding a company and sometimes we're funding a project inside a company. So let's say we could fund a regular shoe factory that wants to buy solar panels, and we will fund the solar panels, but we could fund a vegan shoe factory, for example. So that could be the project that we are funding. And the third part of the due diligence is the impact analysis. So we also have an impact department with people that will look at the theory of the company as to why they are creating impact, and will try to convert it in actual measurable, tangible impact that people can understand. And we are transparent about that. So you as an investor with Goparity, of course, you have access to what returns you're getting, your portfolio performance, but also to all the impact that you are generating. You know exactly how many jobs you helped create, how many CO2 emissions you have helped avoid, how much clean energy you generated, how many people in vulnerable situations you have positively impacted, and a number of other KPIs.
Interesting. So I assume Goparity operates as a crowd lending platform licensed under the European crowdfunding regulation, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, how does this regular framework shape the way you operate and build trust with your investors?
I mean, I don't think it's the framework that determines how we relate with the investors, because even when we were regulated by the Portuguese regulation, we've always been very transparent in the relation to our investors. I think it's the only way that we can actually build trust. Trust comes from the experience, from the transparency, and from the performance. And of course, being very transparent sometimes it's not even good for us, because we tell the whole story. We tell the good and the bad. But in the end, I think people do understand that they're talking to humans when they address Goparity. I also write to the investors every quarter, and every quarter I tell them about the things that went well. But I'm not only celebrating achievements. I also talk about loans in arrears and companies that defaulted, and so everything is there. And it's also key for people to be aware of the risks and of the financial conditions of the projects that they are investing. Of course, we use several mitigation measures. For example, 99% of our loans have a collateral, so an actual asset that is allocated to that loan. That if the company defaults, any money that is made with that asset is first to pay our investors and then the other creditors. But we cannot say it's 100% guaranteed investment.
Interesting. What's an average investment that the crowds make here in a typical project?
Yeah, it's the typical, looking at the offered conditions, on average, our investments are on around 6 to 7% on average per year. Of course, if you choose to invest only in Colombia, for example, then the interest is a bit higher, and you can invest with as high as 9-10%. And the term of the loans typically ranges. Actually, it's very wide. We have done loans like short-term bridge loans, 6 months, and we've also funded solar power projects at 8 years or even 10 years. We try not to go beyond 6 years in terms of the maturity of a loan, because we know, and that's the irony of sustainability, that people want short-term gains, but sustainability requires long-term thinking. So that's the irony of where we are. From the investor perspective, on average, our users have around 2,200 euros in their portfolio, and the average ticket per investment is around 180 euros. So we have We've had one project of 800,000 euros that had more than 3,000 people invest in that project.
Okay. So an average of a project, the amount is what, like 100,
It's on the 200, 250.
200,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
But we've had many projects that have been split in different campaigns. So, for
Gotcha.
example, we have companies that have funded already more than 2 million euros with Goparity, but they did it in multiple campaigns of 200, 500. Yeah.
How fast the loan gets fulfilled? Uh,
It is. That's the question every customer asks.
is it?
How fast will I get
You
my
want
money?
access to money right away, right?
Yeah, it totally varies with the conditions. So I can tell you, we've done 500,000 euros in 17 hours for Colombia, but we've also done 500,000 euros in 4 weeks. It depends. The higher the interest, the shorter the term, the faster it goes. So projects until 2 years, paying more than 7%, they just fly away from the platform.
Yeah. Now, impact investing often requires balancing financial returns and with sustainability outcomes for your platform. How do you and your team approach this balance in project selection? I know it's you got to have some kind of criteria, right?
Yeah. So the basic one is that the project needs to actively contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals. The second one is we look at the purpose or the use of money, but we are not blind. This means we have some no-go areas, of course, and we have an investment committee that will decide when projects are on a gray area. So I can give you concrete examples. We had a project in a beautiful solar power project, 150 kilowatts, rooftop on a farm, very good return. It was on the rooftop of chicken farm. And that's where we started to doubt, well, should we fund them? How happy are those animals living below that roof? So we started to dig deeper, and our impact officer sent them a first report of questions, request for documentation. What's your animal rights policy? Do you have any certification regarding the quality of the life of those animals? How many hours do they spend on the ground? All of that, and the questions and the replies were terrible. So they didn't have anything. They did not plan to have. We decided not to fund them. I think that the big lesson there is, as important or as sound as a project might be, and we could try to close our eyes and say our money only goes for solar and it's about the energy transition. We need to be coherent 360 degrees. And even if we didn't think so, it would backlash on our community. And that's the important part. Our users are very engaged, and we have had cases. And I can give you another example. We funded solar power on a shopping mall in Brazil. And we had shopping.
You said shopping mall.
A shopping mall, yeah.
Yeah.
And some people wrote back and said, "Why? Why are you funding solar power when you know that below that is a perfect example of capitalism? So if capitalism brought us here with all the waste and the pollution and everything, how can you be funding solar panels on the roof?" And then our reply there is, well, we don't all need to be this radical against capitalism. That's actually what we are trying to change, to have a friendlier type of investment. We're not denying parts of capitalism. But the beauty of our model is exactly that. If you don't like it, you don't fund it. You don't need to invest in every project that we launch just because you're a user. You can choose only solar power, or only NGOs, or only social impact, or only Europe or only Africa. So that's also part of the beauty of this. It's about choosing where your money goes.
Yeah. Well, it's very interesting. I sometimes get surprised when I see people how they think capitalism is bad. Uh, and I always say like distorted capitalism is bad. Capitalism is one of the most amazing systems. It's a reward on the on the metrics that is you put the input, you work hard, you make things happen, you innovate. I mean, there's no other better system. Nothing is comparable to that. So I'm glad that you push back and you went and explained that better because in the end of the day, people must be truly understand that hey, um, capitalism it's not a new system. It's a system that I truly believe the creator has created for this planet Earth. You want to? I call it God. For some people who don't believe in God, they can go. But there's a creator who created this planet Earth, and this planet Earth is based on an economic system that capitalism had brought us to where we are today. And there's no other system that can do better. I would say, but distorted capitalism for sure. I'm with that 100%.
It's not, yeah, I think it's about, I mean, the distortion and of course it's not flawless and no system is flawless. And capitalism has failed to internalize many environmental costs or social costs, for example, that are now up to us to make sure they are taken into account in investment decisions and all of this. I think we can still make it. There's room for improvement, let's say.
Yeah. Nuno, this is a short format conversation. I would love to have a more in-depth conversation with you, maybe for next time. What does the word bold mean to you?
Woof. Bold for me, it's like a synonym of brave. It's about being able to aim in directions that people have not gone before. It's about embracing challenge, and it's about being clear and brave in chasing your goals. Let's say,
Yeah.
being able to create that, even though you're a small company based out of Portugal, now not anymore. Now you're in Spain and Canada too. You're still able to provoke a lot of change.
Bruno, great seeing you. Be brave, be brave, and be clear is what I got from you, and being bold in terms of the meaning. Thank you for joining me in this bold talk series, and I look forward to seeing you soon again. Until next time, take care, be great, and be bold always.
Thank you, Epi.
Take care.
Thanks for having me.